Let's hear a little bit about that. When is the
I
end date?
noticed I was working from home and I was just like, in my head, I knew that I was planning this big trip to Bali. I knew that I was, like saving up for accommodation, whatever. No second thoughts whatsoever. Like every day I wake up, I'm like, yep, this was the move. This was the choice. This was,
Yeah, if I
yeah.
remember rightly, I went home before you. I know when to call it at night. I think if I lost it all today, I wouldn't do it the exact same way. I'd probably do it completely differently.
To be able to just go, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. I think
No, I love that
yes, you
mindset.
can, but
I always do that.
fair
I would
enough.
just go to a country, have a hotel booked for one night, and then just figure out the rest
Was
when I
okay,
arrive.
quit my job. I announced it on LinkedIn, right? Because I mean, software engineering, LinkedIn's kind of like home base for that sort of stuff.
You're working in software engineering, and people already know about you and your work in those circles because you're on LinkedIn, which is a great place for someone in your field. And that's just
Yeah.
a bitch. You think you're gonna get more money? No. You think you're gonna have more responsibility and a fulfilling life?
Sucker.
Hell no. You're gonna do exactly what we want you to do.
Having complete ownership over a project that aligned with my future, and we've even been talking about, promotions and compensation for all the extra work that I picked up along. And now all of that I felt it just got completely ignored. I was
Mm.
thrown onto some project I didn't care about. And a week after that, I was like, you know what, man? Fuck this. I'm out. Right, so I thought I'd add this bit at the beginning of the video before we jump straight into the podcast. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background information. So this is with a friend of mine, George, who I met at the Lancaster University gym a good couple of years ago. Ever since, he's been building up his personal brand, his sort of agency, I guess you could say, where he's been learning how to automate systems, take on new clients, learning sales, learning how to build a product, and now he's living the dream life that I am apparently pursuing. So this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for us to exchange some ideas, and maybe you guys will even get a bit of insight or a kick up the ass that you need to go and do the same thing if this is something that you're also considering doing. But without further ado, let's jump straight in. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast.
Straight in, jumping
Jumping
straight in.
straight in.
It's like if you're standing at the top of the water slide and you're too scared, and someone just pushes you in. That's the
Yeah,
best way.
I think that's what you need is, somebody else. Like I'm glad I wasn't the person pressing record.
No.
Just somebody else to
Uh,
just shove me down the water slide.
is that a kettle behind you on your right? Or a random bag on the bed?
Oh,
Can we
that's
decrease that bag from the bed?
I mean I can just like protrude my shoulders a little bit and
Sure. Okay.
fill the
Whatever you
frame
want.
as much as I can.
Not hard with your broad shoulders.
I do try. Yeah. I can't believe you're calling me out on the bed, like right at the
I,
start of the podcast.
I want the frame to look good. That's the thing.
Okay. The frame does
So
look good.
yeah, okay. If you say so. And there's always this like weird part at the start of a podcast where you're just kind of like, oh, how are you? Doing like some small talk, little introduction. Um, and I wonder if now because of AI and that how it just gets straight to the point often, and also in this like attention economy where everything is just super fast paced and nobody wants to wait for anything. I wonder if like those sort of human moments like that we just had and like
Blips,
little
I guess you could
strange little
say.
like puttering around, is that like becoming irrelevant, like people moving away from that, like there's no time to just be a bit bored, a bit still. People just want the meat of the sandwich straight away. What do you
I
think
think
about that?
you definitely get that a lot on a lot of the more professional podcasts. Like if you're not gonna watch a Chris Williamson podcast and have all of the sort of like the blips at the beginning. They jump straight in with the questions, and I don't know if you watch. Obviously, I've heard you watch Hormozy as well, so you've probably seen the Chris Williamson. Alex Hormozy podcast where it's literally just back and forth, just value, like at every
It's
second.
constant value, and yeah, maybe that has nothing to do with AI. It's just a fact. People don't want to waste time, and that's good. Because if I was listening to a podcast and they were just like chatting shit at the start, I'd be like, I don't want to listen to this. This is a waste. Usually with like the Joe Rogan podcast, I think he has like all those introductions or whatever, but he just cuts that out. The podcast just starts and they're like mid sentence, like, did you see that video of that like unicorn that climbed Everest? Like, oh no, yeah, pull that up.
Just completely ran. Nobody needs to see it, right? It's not
Yeah.
really offering it. I mean, it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong. I
Mm.
think with some of the sort of smaller podcast like content creators, I guess you could say, I've noticed that they do sort of start off with the more natural, like, oh, this week, oh, I just moved from like, California to Bali. I was spending my first 3 weeks
Mm.
here, and like, there's a load of, I guess you can kind of tell that they are trying to get into the rhythm of it, and then once they find like a natural like point to like sort of hook onto like a value giving conversation, that's when it sort of goes down that
Yeah,
path.
defo. Well, it's just the art of a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
it's difficult to just immediately get into that value, immediately get into that meat. There is always going to be like a little bit of a warm up. Probably with when you watch like a Hormozy podcast, it's probably quite heavily edited. Like they're just giving you exactly what you want and then sort of cutting out the rest. Because the truth of it is, even if you're at that high level and people like do care about Hormozy and they probably want to know like a little bit about his life, um, they still don't really care enough. If they're clicking on a YouTube video like how to be successful in business, they just want that whole hour and a half to be like, how do I be successful in business? Not like how was your holiday to Ibiza? So yeah,
I think we've
exactly.
kind of we've lit the flame under our asses here, right? Because I've shared this on my story, so knowing that at any time somebody could just dip in and be like, "What the fuck is this
They
garbage?"
might be watching already. I don't know. I think you can only see on the computer if anybody's watching.
Right,
But
yeah, yeah.
if anybody is watching live, hello. Yeah, I mean, essentially, it is the angle of it. I'm not sure what the title is going to be, but the angle of it is you're coming into this world of uh, digital nomad, self-employed freelancer or agency. I don't know what route you want to go down, and I'm someone who's been doing it for 2 years, and I wouldn't say I'm a mega success, but I'm living abroad in Sri Lanka. I've got monthly recurring revenue coming in. I'm working with lots of different businesses every month, and life is pretty sweet because I don't have to work a full-time job. You've
Yeah,
just
man.
quit your full-time job. Well, you've handed in your notice, so you're quitting in a few weeks or months or whatever, and you're trying to figure it out. So let's hear a little bit about that. When is the end date?
Yeah, so that's one thing that I don't think I told you about actually. So this is a perfect opportunity to spill the beans, but I handed in my notice. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So not the weeks have gone so quickly, man. It's just ridiculous. I don't think it was last Monday, but the Monday before that, I handed in my notice. I was working from home, and I was just like, in my head, I knew that I was planning this big trip to Bali. I knew that I was, like saving up for accommodation, whatever. That weekend, right before the Monday, I sort of had a conversation with my parents. Still had give it a little bit of thought, and I was like, you know what? I could actually do this like now. I don't have to like keep working till November. Like I've got enough money to like afford like a month or so in Bali. I could just yeah, just do it because I'm not getting anything out of my job right now. So I thought I got to the Monday, handed in my notice, and it's a 4 week notice period. And what happened was when I went in on the Tuesday, my manager basically like sat down with me, went through all the leaving admin, I guess. and he said, "I'm quite happy for you to finish off all of the work that's been planned for this week. Just a few like development tasks, I guess you could say." And then he said, "Yeah, you're free to go like next Monday, basically." So for the last week or so, I've just been chilling.
So have you quit? You
I've
finished completely now?
I'm on garden leave, so I'm sort of like I'm still on the payroll until my nose finishes, which is on the 22nd. But
Okay. So
I
if they
have
want
no,
anything urgent, they'll hit you up.
yeah, yeah. But in the meantime, I'm basically free to be my own man,
Yeah. Fuck
which
yeah. All
is
right, man. Well, congrats. That's great. And
yeah, it's
how do
been
you feel about it all? Are you having second thoughts?
no second thoughts whatsoever. Like every day I wake up, I'm like, yep, this was the move, this was the choice, this was. Yeah, my heart's been screaming at me to do this for months, and I can remember when I hit send on that email, I was like punching my bed and my pillows, like fuck yeah, man, like let's go, I did it, I finally did it. I was so happy
You let the
because
intrusive thoughts win.
I let the intrusive thoughts win, man. I had that Fight Club scene like going like replaying in my head, like
Which
I,
scene?
it's the one right at the end. I'm assuming you have watched
Of
Fight Club
course, many
because I
times.
watched I watched it that weekend, so it was fresh. And yeah, it's the one where Tyler's going to what's the protagonist's name? Is it Jack? I think it's Jack.
Is it Jack? Um, I don't even know. Is this like real name even? Is Tyler Durden is obviously Brad Pitt's character, but then do we
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
even learn who the main character's name is?
Because he refers
I-
to himself
yeah, he
in the
refers to
third
himself as like
person.
I am Jack's lack of empathy.
Yeah, I'm
But
Jack's raging bile duct.
that's in the book, and that's like explained a different way. I think it's something he
Mm,
reads. It's something he reads in one of like the support groups he goes to. It's like in a little pamphlet. I am Jack's like
yeah.
crushing alcoholism.
But
It's
isn't it
his
when
name. I
he
don't think you know his name in Fight Club.
No, that's what I
So
thought. Because
yeah.
I think the first time we hear it was either at one of the support groups or it was when he moves into the house on Paper Street and he's
Mm,
reading through those books and he's like, "Oh my God, Tyler, like look at this. I am Jack's left nipple," and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I don't know if that was maybe part of it, but either way, it's the scene where I think Tyler's going to Jack. What do you want? Be stuck in a shit job? Like
Mm,
fucking condo world, watching sitcoms. Fuck that, I won't do it. And I think that line just summarizes my intrusive thoughts perfectly.
fuck yeah. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Sometimes you need to let the intrusive thoughts win. Sometimes the intrusive thoughts are right.
Sometimes, George.
Most of the time.
Sometimes, most of the time.
All the time.
Well, I remember when we last went out for drinks, the intrusive thought said, keep drinking and go to the nightclub, even though you've got work tomorrow. So maybe sometimes it's best not to let the intrusive thoughts win.
Mm. Yeah, if I remember rightly, I went home before you. I know when to call it at night. I slept well.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh
But yeah,
well.
last time we went out together, had some drinks. Basically, our entire conversation for the first few hours was just like a podcast because I was essentially just telling you like my process of getting clients, how it's worked for me, my winning lottery tickets in a way, which is about the only thing you can give as someone who's like semi-successful or whatever. You can just tell people like how you did it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you because it's different every single time. Um, I can't remember who said that, but I really like that analogy because they are just like my winning lottery tickets in a way. It isn't something that's completely um you're not completely able to repeat it easily, but the habits and the actions you can repeat. So I think if I lost it all today, I wouldn't do it the exact same way. I'd probably do it completely differently. But it's a matter of just believing that you can. and showing up and getting your work in front of people, working for free sometimes, and building up a showreel. What what's been your process? Because you told me you got like two clients in the past few weeks. Like immediately after quitting your job, you've gone on to actually take on some clients, which is incredibly fast, way faster than I ever did it. Probably took me like 6 months. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think it was a mix of knowing the right people and just being in the right place at the right time. I think I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and she was saying like, yeah, sometimes you do just have to bite the bullet and just go and do the big scary thing, which is quitting your job, and then these opportunities reveal themselves. That's not, I don't think that's a healthy mindset. I mean, it kind of is and it isn't. To be able to just go, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. I think
No, I love that
yes, you
mindset.
can, but
I always do that.
fair enough,
I,
fair
I would
enough.
just go to a country, have a hotel booked for one night, and then just figure out the rest when I
Okay, that
arrive.
that I'm happy with, but I think for the average person listening to
Mm,
this and the sort of process I'm about to explain, this was very much me being in the right place at the right time and just
mm,
knowing the right people. And I appreciate that a lot of people probably don't have that, I guess, what's the word? Like that support behind them. But
yeah.
nonetheless, what happened was quit my job. I announced it on LinkedIn, right? Because I mean, software engineering, LinkedIn's kind of like home base for that sort of stuff. So I announced it on LinkedIn. I'd post my story like, this is what I'm doing. No sabbatical, no nothing, just like moving to Bali, seeing what happens, sort of thing. And there's a company that I did a sort of internship with a good couple, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I did, it was a mobile app development project, I guess you could say. And I delivered that. It was literally just a prototype. I had no experience in deployment or anything like that, like I do now. Got that finished. They were super super happy with it, and we stayed in touch. And then the communication kind of dropped off because moved into my new role, and they must have been thinking they saw that I quit my job and they were like, "Oh, Josh is free now. We need to jump in there and like we need to send him a message because they've got a lot of work that needs doing from a more sort of technical point of view. I guess in terms of linking software systems together. So what this project is, and I'm still in the process of drafting out the contract and everything. It's just been sort of like just a few initial had an initial meeting, I think it was last week on Tuesday. So went into the offices, basically just like had my notebook and just like asking them loads of questions, trying to see if we could basically just hearing what their problems were. It was essentially a case of we have all these software systems that we're trying to use, but we need them to link together in a certain way, or we want one feature from one piece of software, we want another from another one, and they were like low key saying to me, "Yo, Josh, could you make a piece of software that can do all the best parts of all the best apps?" And I gave it some thought and tried to like narrow down the scope a little bit and tried to make it into something that I could reasonably develop. And I got home that afternoon after I drove down to their offices. I was like, "Holy shit, I could build this. This is like completely and 100% doable." Started scoping it out and everything. Started designing, doing like the Figma mock-ups of the UI and what have you. Sent that over to them, and yeah, they seem pretty happy. So the next stage is like I mentioned, just draft out that contract, get all the milestones in place, and then get some signatures on paper, and we'll be good to go.
Hell yeah. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
it's
So I
exciting.
guess the process with that was, and this isn't something that is completely unreasonable. You you're working in software engineering, and people already know about you and your work in those circles because you're on LinkedIn, which is a great place for someone in your field, and actually
Yeah,
for people in many many fields. Um, and you've announced that you're quitting your job, you're moving to Bali. That's signaling to potential employers that or potential clients that you're available. and they're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, we know this guy has now time to take on work. They probably think it's kind of ballsy too. They're like, yeah, this guy's doesn't want to be a wage slave anymore.
He's not
Uh,
fucking around.
he's not fucking around. Maybe he wants to work with us. And what people don't realize as well is I've seen this with my friend who works in engineering, with yourself, with some filmmaker friends, is that when you're not working the 9 to 5 job, people that can then hire you as a contractor because they can actually pay you less. Well, it costs them less because they don't have to pay you like a 9 to 5. They can just give you the money for per project. And in many cases, both parties prefer that because you get to choose when you do the work and if you want to do the work, and they don't have to pay like employers tax and all this shit. So if you're on LinkedIn and you've got like a bit of a network and you're thinking about quitting your job, you're never going to know what opportunities are there until you actually until you actually go and do it. But if you're just working in McDonald's and you know you're working a 9 to 5 and you've never even like posted a picture on social media in your life, you can't expect that same kind of those same kind of opportunities to come up because nobody knows who the fuck you are, nobody knows what kind of skills you offer. But if you have that presence online, like you do, and you did, then it's unreasonable to say that you wouldn't have some opportunities come your way, and you do. So that's great, and that's very exciting. Are you going to lean more into LinkedIn now, more posting, more connections? What do you think is the plan?
Yeah, so I think it does make a lot more sense to use LinkedIn because initially I sort of had a very loose idea for an app that I wanted to develop. I kind of got it to a very loose MVP stage, and I was marketing that to, again, this was completely blindly just going in, seeing what worked, blindly marketing it to people on Instagram, and it was like impossible to get people to reply to your DMs. You'd have to reach out to hundreds and hundreds of potential clients. You'd have to make, even if you made content which showed how your app worked, I was starting from basically scratch. My sort of Baker Data IO Instagram page I'm using for all my professional work only has maybe 20 or 30 or so followers. So I was literally starting from the bottom, and now that I've got this potential work package in place, I'm starting to think, no, I might as well, it would be more beneficial to lean into a platform where I already have a presence and where I've done outreach before and actually had like a higher response rate. So that's my thinking now, at least, is I think LinkedIn, especially for software engineering, is just way more beneficial. I mean, granted, I'd still love to create content like this and turn it into reels and maybe talk about more sort of personal stuff on my new Instagram account and then sort of duplicate that on TikTok and YouTube as well. But that won't be the sort of thing that I'll be locking all in on. It'll be sort of like a side, just building up a presence. Again, that's still something that I'm figuring out.
What's the dream? Like not be a billionaire kind of like super far in the distance dream. What's like the short term dream? Do you want to be sitting on the beach in Bali like doing your software engineering work, or do you want to just be sort of quote unquote making passive income and just sitting there drinking cocktails, just doing what you want? Like, do you want to work, or do you think this is just something work on software engineering, or do you think that's just something you're good at and you know, and that people will pay you for? Because with
I
what
can see what you're
I
asking.
do work to explain myself. I mean, the amount of time I spend working is relatively low. Like 2 or 3 hours a day on a good day, maybe a little bit more. The rest of the day is just kind of free to myself. I can work more if I want to. I can work less if I want to. I have a team that I can pass on content creation to, and the if I really wanted to, just do as little as possible. All I would have to do is show up and do these kind of podcasts and make content that way because I trust my team and I've taught them to do and make exactly what I want. Would that kind of path appeal to you, or do you quite like being a freelancer, which is what it sounds like you're doing at the moment? You know, they give you projects, you work on them completely, compared to being an agency, which is what I am. Like I am the agency, I run the agency, I'm like the director of what I do, but I don't necessarily do all the work myself. I send that to other people to take care of. Which
You build
path,
systems.
yeah, built systems. Which path would you prefer to do?
That's still something I'm figuring out. I don't have the answer to that. But what I do know at least now is when I go on a holiday, let's say maybe a week holiday or something, I go to Italy or I go to Spain, what have you. I'll enjoy the first few days there. You know, it's nice to be able to wake up, just soak in the place I'm in, soak in the sights, go down to the beach, have some drinks, go to the bars. I I love the holiday life as much as the next guy, right? But I trust in myself, and I know that I always return back to this feeling of even if I'm on holiday or I'm in often some foreign country, I will always have this burning itch that's saying, Josh, I need to be working on something. Like maybe I'll have some time during the day. I'll be like maybe I'm like traveling with friends or something, and like maybe I don't know, I wake up early and they're still like sleeping in, or we don't really know what we're doing. We're just kind of like chilling around the house. I'll have that little period of, oh, I could be building something. I could be trying to make money. Obviously, I'm only just getting to that stage now, but back then it was, how do I how do I use this time productive? Like I've always had that sort of like in a grind set, or yeah, that in a grind mindset, I guess you could say, of like,
Quite satisfied when you have so much work that you have to work all day. But the with the strategy that you do as an agency is you pay other people to do the bulk of the work, um, so that you, in theory, have more time to make more money because then you take on more clients. And you just keep taking on clients until all you do all day is just take calls and make sales, and you tell them about your product. Um, that's the trade-off I have because I could spend a few hours editing videos for YouTube or for my clients, or I could pay someone to make those videos so I can spend more time writing proposals, taking calls, doing podcasts. Because there's only so many hours in the day. And when you start using your money to make you more money, that's when shit gets quite exciting and quite fun. And that's when you're thinking as a business, not as just a that's when you start thinking as an agency, not a freelancer. Both are good. Sometimes I'll step in and do more work for the clients if I need to save a bit of money or, I spent too much money on tequilas. But usually it doesn't really pay off as well as if I just spent that time like cold calling or writing proposals because you could just get more money instead of saving money.
yeah, no, I think that's another thing that I'm still sort of figuring out what I want from this from a business point of view, because I love video editing. I love writing software. I love doing Figma. I also quite enjoy doing outreach. I just maybe you'll see me as a bit of a psychopath. Maybe I won't automate as much of it as I should be automating in the first few months. But that's the thing. I think me personally, I quite enjoy and think I'm relatively good at least maybe not everything to begin with. Maybe I could learn a little bit more in terms of outreach, but again, it's I think it ultimately comes down to I just enjoy all of the little bits that come along with it, and that sort of another driving factor for me to quit my job was like, here's me taking orders on a task that I don't resonate with. I don't enjoy this. I don't believe in the product really because we haven't really made any sales at all. We don't, this app that we're making isn't making the company any money. I mean, my colleagues maybe watching this right now. I've just quit, so I don't really care. Um, but honestly, I just have no belief in the product that we're working on. So that's ultimately what led me
It's when you know you got to
to
go.
quit.
But
Yeah,
if you're
it's like
selling your own product, you are going to believe in it. Because if you don't
yeah,
believe in it, you should probably change it because it's pretty
should
hard to
probably
sell
change it.
something you don't believe in. When I worked in door-to-door sales, the times where I was actually good at selling we were selling fiber broadband, which was just new to a lot of areas. And the times when I did well is when I was like, these people genuinely need this. Like, this is 20 times faster internet than what they've got. They work from home. They're paying a shit ton. And I'm like, wow, this product is so perfect for you. Like, you really need this. And there's a huge difference when people can sense your conviction and when you're just sort of doing it for the sake of it. And then there's a huge difference internally as well, because with your job, you've just quit, you probably did start to feel that more and more disillusioned because you're like, this ain't for me. This ain't my product. But if you really cared and believed in the product, then maybe we wouldn't be sat here having this conversation because you'd still be
Exactly.
comfortable.
Yeah, that's no, that's
So
exactly
it's a
it.
good thing that it was not the best product.
I think the beauty of what I'm doing now and the system that I'm developing for this company, and I think that came with me going into their offices and seeing the look on managers, like seeing her eyes light up when I said, "Yeah, we can probably do this. This is something that's possible to develop." And she was like, "Oh my God, this is going to solve so many problems." Like just the fact that we both had that belief of like, "Yeah, I believe that I can build it. I believe it will add value." And she was like, obviously having that energy just yeah, it just
It's buzzing. It's great.
it's
I've
buzzing.
had
Yeah,
conversations with clients before we've started working together, and they've been like, "Oh, I'm struggling with this and this. I don't have time to do this." And I'm like, "Well, I can do it, and I'd love to do it." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so excited! Like, this is exactly what I need." That feels great because not only are you getting paid, you're also providing a great service, and you're actually helping someone's life. You don't get that when you're just working a 9 to 5 job and you're working on some project you're like 100 steps removed from, and you don't know the clients, you don't know why they want this. You're just sort of there as a cog in the machine. When it's your product, you're the whole engine, baby.
you're the whole engineer. You're the whole car.
Exactly. Or the driver, the car and the driver. I don't know. Crap
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool.
Self-driving car.
I think what people are probably most interested in with the content you're making at the moment on YouTube and posting a bit on your stories is like, you're the living embodiment of that guy who everybody thinks about quitting their job. Everyone's like, I hate my job, or I want to start a business. But no one does it. They're just like, oh, one day
Mm,
I'm going to start a business. And this is what I really like about you is you've done that first step, probably the hardest step. It's very hard to get clients and make a living for yourself, but it's a lot harder to do that if you never ever even try. So
yeah.
that's very cool, and you're the living embodiment of that dream that people have to quit their jobs and start a business. Right
Yeah.
now, you're the what's the word? The zeitgeist of
The
that. So
zeitgeist.
congrats, but don't congratulate yourself too much. This is
No.
just the start.
Oh yeah.
But that is very interesting to maybe your audience, people watching. What was the turning point where you were like, right, I'm gonna fucking do this? Like, take us through the day or the process of events
Ooh.
that led to you quitting your job.
You want the gossip. You want the gossip, baby. This is where it gets good.
Gossip. Oh my
Yeah, so
god.
yeah, so obviously I don't even know where to begin, you know. Where'd your camera go? Oh, there you are.
I'm
You
sorry.
dipped for a second.
It will just
Gosh, I
take us
mean,
through.
yeah.
How long ago was it that you started having this little spark where you're like, oh, fuck this, I'm gonna quit?
Probably like the better part of a year ago, I reckon. But that was just it was hints of it. Or maybe 2 years ago. I think when I started my job, I was like, do I want to go into the 9 to 5 life? Because I was watching all this content of like big YouTubers who were like, oh, start your own online business and all that stuff. But I was fresh out of uni. I had very little work experience, very few skills, and I was like, I just didn't. I think I fell into that trap that a lot of people fall into, where it was they'll try one thing, get into like maybe I don't know content creation. I was like, oh, I'm gonna like develop my own app, but I didn't really have that much app development experience, so I kind of just stuck it out my job. I gained just a lot of general software engineering, data science, data engineering experience, and it got to the point where at the beginning of this year, I got a new manager and we had this project, and this is actually what I told HR in my exit interview, so it feels like I'm just a stuck record at this point. Hopped on this new project. It was very like data science driven. It was a fresh new project that nobody else had attempted. It was going to solve loads of problems for the company. We had this massive store of data that we needed to process. And this is something that a lot of companies have right there. And going into the sort of data-driven world that we're sort of blindly walking into, a lot of other people that I've spoken to who work for like these big tech firms, for example, yes, they'll have like, these products, these apps, maybe they sell physical products, but a lot of them have just massive stores of data that they don't know what to do with, and there's this big pressure on especially big companies to make use of it and derive insights, and people will throw out all these buzzwords saying, oh, we're shifting towards a data-driven approach. And it's fun, it's exciting, it's very research oriented, and it's something that somebody like me with a data science background can jump straight into, like I did a few months ago, and take complete ownership over the project. I had the freedom to sort of take it wherever I wanted to. Me and my manager saw completely eye to eye on the project direction. It was a good 4 to 6 months of like I actually feel like I'm in paradise. Like this is exactly what I signed up to do at this role.
Mm.
And
And this was about a year ago.
it was maybe a few months ago, actually. I'd say
Okay.
January, February, or maybe March that I started the project.
So
And
the
it,
job was became everything that you wanted it to
yeah,
be. This
yeah.
camera is full. Um, but then what?
So because this was a result of it being a very research oriented project, we had very limited budget for it, very limited amount of time, and it was a sort of combination of things that happened internally at the company. So I was working on this project. It sort of came to the first deadline, I guess you could say. I delivered an internal app that a couple of hardware engineers could use to sort of analyze data, I guess you could say. And that came to a close, and then my manager had just a few more sort of research tasks that he wanted me to have a look into. Again, that was fun. It kind of kept me busy doing stuff that I was interested doing. So I thought, I'm going to give this all my energy because I enjoy this and I really want to make something of it. And then what happened during that time when I just finished my project and I was sort of doing maybe a little bit more research stuff that we'd eventually incorporate back into that application that I built was one of the one of the sort of key managers, sort of a little bit higher up in the business, quit, and that completely threw everything off from a software, at least a software management point. I mean, that he kind of this particular manager was the glue between three sort of key departments in the business. So for him to leave, just completely, everything kind of crumbled a little bit. And at that point, that's when I started seeing the cracks. I was like, okay, well, what does this mean for my career and my trajectory going forward working for this company? And so as a result of that, they restructured the software team. We had a massive meeting in one of the big meeting rooms where they basically said, okay, this guy's going to be the software manager. my manager is going to manage a different department, and that basically meant that I was going from full stack data driven development to grunt software, C++ programming languages that I was uncomfortable with on a project that I had worked on months ago and hated, and raised to my manager, I don't want to be working on this because I'm not a software engineer, I'm a data scientist. And although they're very they are they have their similarities, they are fundamentally different roles. And so what happened was I had a meeting with me, my new manager, my old manager, which it got a little bit heated, if I'm completely honest. I remember saying to them, "Look, I came here to do data science, and I'd like a plan moving forward. Like, I'm happy to fill in the gaps because I appreciate we're running low on software resource at the moment. I I'm happy to fill in the gaps to do this software work, but I'd like a clear sort of deadline or some ideas around, where we can take this in a data science direction, because obviously that's my key role." And he kind of just waffled loosely around, "Oh yeah, well, if we throw a data scientist at this project, maybe he'll be able to find all the data science opportunities for it." And it's like, yes and no, but more no. It sounded to me like he didn't really know what he was doing. I'd just kind of been thrown at him at last minute, and he was scrambling to find work for me to do. So at that point, I was like, right, okay. So I've just gone from having my having complete ownership over a project that aligned with my future, and we've even been talking about, promotions and compensation for all the extra work that I picked up along the way. Bearing in mind, in 2 years I hadn't received a single promotion either, and I just picked up all this responsibility and taken ownership back to back of an entire project. And now all of that, I felt, it just got completely ignored. I was
Mm.
thrown onto some project I didn't care about, and a week after that, I was like, you know what, man? Fuck this. I'm out. And that was the end.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So why did the project fall apart?
Well, it
Was
didn't
there
fall
they lose
apart.
funding or something, or was it over?
It was more of a funding thing, from what I understand. But
Mm.
I think I missed out on quite a few crucial discussions that went on in higher management that weren't relayed back to me. So if I'm completely honest, my guess is that it's funding, but I was never really given
Who
a
knows?
firm
This is the
answer.
fucking bullshit about working in this kind of environment. And I've heard this kind of story before. You work in a corporate environment, they sort of dangle this like golden egg in front of you, and they're like, "Oh, we've got this cool project coming up, we're going to give you all this responsibility and more money, and if you just work like extra and do all this extra stuff, then you can have it." And then it just disappears. The golden egg
Mm,
just like gets crushed on the ground, and they're like, "You're just
yeah.
a bitch. You think you're gonna get more money? No. You think you're gonna have more responsibility and a fulfilling life?
Sucker.
Hell no. You're gonna do exactly what we want you to do when we need it. And then we're going to get a little bit busier in a few months, and we're going to give you a shit ton of work and do this whole thing again. And you're always going to
Mm,
be disappointed. But after a few years, we might give you like a 30p per hour raise. And then you're going to make like an extra couple of pounds per month. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? You get free Starbucks.
You'd like
And they
that,
bring
wouldn't
out that one little
you?
slice of pizza on the Friday with a huge Coke bottle. I've never worked in an office, can you tell? But I've seen a lot of memes.
Yeah, sums it up perfectly.
Does that sum
I
it
mean,
up?
we did have pizza Wednesdays, and I must admit, I took as many slices as I could.
Good for you.
Uh,
Good for you. But that shit would not fly if it was your business. You're working with a client. They ask you to do more work. They ask you to do like work on this huge project. You're going to be like, okay, what's the budget?
yeah, man. I'm
There's
gonna
no
pull up
like tricking
pull up the paper
anyone.
and say, "Well, where's it written, huh?"
Yeah, I ain't paid to do that.
That's
And
exactly it.
because you're not working with management and bureaucracy, it's you. It's you that's in charge. If you want to bring management and bureaucracy into your business, then go ahead. But at least you'll be in charge.
At least I'll be the one calling the shots. I'll be the one saying, "Hey, here's this 30p per hour pay rise that you might get in the." No, I won't be that much of a dick,
No,
hopefully.
I know. I know. Well, listen, Josh, I'm sorry, but I gotta go. I got someone coming in to do some work in the apartment, and he's gonna make a shit ton of noise. Um,
Damn.
but we can do another podcast very soon. I know the people want it. I just know
I
that
know they do.
this is gonna ruin the podcast in any minute. So it's
Yeah,
best to
man.
end it on a high.
Yeah, definitely. I need to go get some breakfast.
All right, bro. Get some brekkie. We'll definitely do a new podcast maybe next week or the week after. Um, but thank you for listening. If you were listening,
Hell yeah.
we'll get some clips together, get this posted soon.